Chapter 1089. Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at the Blood-Chi Tower again. The cultivators in the Blood-Chi Tower were very indifferent when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang had been coming to the Blood-Chi Tower every day to try to pass the trial. Currently, no one knew which level Bailey Hongzhuang had reached. They only knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was above level 3. After all, no matter how high the trial was, they could not pass it themselves. Naturally, they would not know Bailey Hongzhuang's results. Bailey Hongzhuang is really persistent. She has been trying to pass the trial here for a few months, and she is still so tenacious. Just this perseverance alone is enough to make people gasp in admiration. In my opinion, she is blind. Does she really think that the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower is so easy to obtain? If it was so easy, there would be more than a few people in the history of the Blood-Chi Tower. In recent years, only a man named Bewitching obtained the inheritance a few years ago. At that time, it was shocking. Because of Bewitching's success, more and more cultivators have been trying to obtain the inheritance in recent years. Everyone looked at Bailey Hongzhuang walking to the higher levels without saying a word. They could not help but sigh with admiration, but they could not help but feel envious. This was because Bailey Hongzhuang's current performance was indeed amazing. Bailey Hongzhuang went directly to the 9th level of the Blood-Chi Tower. She decided to give a try today. No matter what the final result was, she could not delay Bewitching's important matters. She wanted to let Bewitching leave first while she stayed in the Blood-Ground Abyss for a while. However, the selection competition was about to begin. Even if she stayed here, she could not stay for long. Moreover, Bewitching would definitely be worried about her if she stayed in the Blood-Ground Abyss. Therefore, she did not mention this idea. There was only one room on the 9th floor of the Blood-Chi Tower. However, Bailey Hongzhuang felt extremely helpless about the test on the 9th floor, because this was simply an unsolvable trap. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked in, an identical Bailey Hongzhuang appeared in front of her. The same clothes, the same appearance, the same outfit, and even the same application. The person in front of him was exactly the same Bailey Hongzhuang. Not only that, he even had the colored glass sword, and it was exactly the same in terms of power and nature. He even had the chaos ring on her hand. After these few days of testing, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that the other party knew all the martial skills that she knew. No matter when and where, their actions were exactly the same. If he wanted to kill the other party, he would have to die. During this period of time, Bailey Hongzhuang had been racking her brains. Even if the opponent was an orange or yellow level opponent, she would not be so helpless. This was because there was at least a chance of winning. It was too difficult to defeat an identical version of herself. Bailey Hongzhuang quietly looked at the identical version of herself. For the first time, she had the urge to kill herself. The Bailey Hongzhuang opposite her did not move. They were like mirror images. They were exactly the same. Bailey Hongzhuang did not attack. This was because she had tried all kinds of attacks. Even if she was beaten black and blue, and the other party was also beaten black and blue, she could not kill herself. Chapter 1090. A proud and complacent voice rang out from Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth. Her mocking look was as if she had already determined the outcome. However, in the face of her opponent's provocation, Bailey Hongzhuang was incomparably calm. Even though the Blood-Chi Tower had imitated her appearance, it could not imitate her personality. Based on her opponent's tone of voice alone, she could tell that they were different. However, just as her opponent had said, she had not found a way to defeat her opponent. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately sat down at the thought of this. She had used all kinds of attack methods before. Both parties would have to endure the same amount of power. Even her opponent's way of dodging and battle experience would be exactly the same as hers. She had even tried to severely injure herself before letting her opponent die first. However, it was to no avail. What kind of method can I use to defeat you? Bailey Hongzhuang furrowed her willowy brows. Heaven never bars one's way. She believed that since the Blood-Chi Tower had set up this trial, there must be a way to solve it. However, she had not found a way to solve it yet. In the end, what part of his body was different from the Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him? Bailey Hongzhuang continued to ponder. Countless methods surfaced in her mind, but she dismissed them all. Over the past few days, she had thought of almost every method, but she could not think of a single one. Suddenly, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell upon the chaos ring. Her pitch-black phoenix-like eyes suddenly lit up. Come to think of it, the most mysterious item on her body was the chaos ring. She did not know what the chaos ring was used for. However, up until now, everything in the chaos ring had shocked her. At the same time, it was also one of her greatest weapons. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell upon the identical Bailey Hongzhuang. The other party was also wearing a chaos ring. However, she did not believe that the Blood-Chi Tower would be so heaven-defying that it would allow her opponent to have an identical chaos ring. Although she didn't know much about the chaos ring, she knew that it wasn't a simple ring. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call it a divine artifact. Such an item couldn't be easily imitated. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang also had the idea of giving it a try. Her mind moved, and her soul entered the chaos ring. Since coming to the Blood-Ground Abyss, the number of times she entered the Ring of Chaos had undoubtedly decreased greatly. This was because the practice in the Blood-Ground Abyss had been of great help to her cultivation. During this time, she had been focusing on improving her cultivation. Naturally, she had also practiced her inscription technique, but the frequency had decreased by a bit. The trial of the Blood-Chi Tower had filled her with fighting spirit. Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the Black and White Palace. To her, the Chaos Ring was the only way to defeat the fake Bailey Hongzhuang, since the other party's situation was exactly the same as hers. Then when her spiritual consciousness entered the Chaos Ring, that Bailey Hongzhuang's spiritual consciousness would also disappear. In this way, when she went out again, the other party would be a dead person. However, if she was wrong and the other party's Chaos Ring had the exact same effect, then she could only think of other ways. Chapter 1091. However, while Bailey Hongzhuang was practicing the inscription technique, the entire Blood-Chi Tower was in an uproar. A bright and resplendent golden light illuminated the entire Blood-Chi Tower. Under this light, the blood-red Blood-Chi Tower gave off a sense of holiness and grandeur. When this light appeared, all the cultivators in the Blood-Ground Abyss focused their attention on the Blood-Chi Tower. To many cultivators, this ray of light was extremely unfamiliar, but many of them could search for the origin of this ray of light in their minds. This light seems to be the light that appears after someone obtains the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower. Yes, I've seen it once a few years ago. It appeared after Bewitching passed all the trials of the Blood-Chi Tower. I didn't expect it to appear again. Who actually passed the trial? For a moment, all the cultivators in the Blood-Ground Abyss gathered outside the Blood-Chi Tower. Looking at the bright light, they were extremely shocked. It can't be Bailey Hongzhuang, right? It was unknown which cultivator mentioned it, but the eyes of all the cultivators present changed. During this period of time, they all knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had been challenging the trials. However, none of them dared to imagine that Bailey Hongzhuang could reach this step. This was too heaven-defying. It can't be. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's strength is good, how difficult is the trial of the Blood-Chi Tower? I don't think she can do it. Who else could it be other than her? Everyone fell into silence. There were many cultivators who challenged the Blood-Chi Tower trial. Not to mention passing the 9th floor, it was extremely difficult to pass the 6th floor. Other than Bailey Hongzhuang, they felt that it was even more impossible for other cultivators to succeed. After seeing the changes in the Blood-Chi Tower, He Mu's handsome face was filled with joy. "Young master, madam succeeded." He Mu's voice was filled with unconcealable excitement. Although he knew that the young master had always been confident in the madam, he also knew how difficult it was to break through the trial of the Blood-Chi Tower. Back then, when the young master had passed this trial, it had caused everyone to exclaim in surprise. It had been many years since anyone had succeeded. However, the young madam had also succeeded. Just this point alone was enough to prove young madam's talent and ability. If this news were spread, Miss Han would no longer be able to say that young madam was not talented enough. He had been by the young master's side for so many years and had a certain understanding of Miss Han's arrogant personality. He was certain that Miss Han must have thought of the young madam this way. As long as the young mistress obtained the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower, this alone would be enough to shut the mouths of many people. As the young master's secret guard, he sincerely hoped that the young master could be happy. Naturally, he also hoped that the marriage between the young master and the young master's wife would not be opposed and discussed by them. Bewitching stood in front of the window as his gaze fell upon the resplendent Blood-Chi Tower. His peerlessly handsome face revealed a joyful smile. His thin and elegant lips curled into a joyful and admiring curve. He never thought that Hong Zhuang would be able to pass the trial so quickly. A few days ago, Hong Zhuang had been having a headache over the last stage. He never thought that she would be able to complete it on the last day. It was truly a pleasant surprise. Chapter 1092. When Bailey Hong Zhuang emerged from the Chaos Ring, she realized that Bailey Hong Zhuang had disappeared. When she saw this, Bailey Hong Zhuang's phoenix-like eyes were filled with astonishment. She then smiled in understanding. It seems that her guess was right. The Blood-Chi Tower was unable to simulate the effects of the Chaos Ring. Bailey Hong Zhuang looked around. Since she had passed the final test, she wondered where the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower was located. Just as Bailey Hong Zhuang was thinking about how to obtain the inheritance, a blood-red ball of light suddenly appeared in the middle of the hall. The blood-red ball of light was mixed with specks of golden light. It was dazzling and bright, faintly emitting a heart-palpitating aura. Bailey Hong Zhuang's ink-black phoenix-like eyes flickered with a bright light. She slowly approached the ball of light. Obviously, this ball of light should be the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower. Bailey Hong Zhuang reached out her hand towards the ball of light. The moment her slender fingers touched the ball of light, Bailey Hong Zhuang felt a piercing pain. Immediately after that, a tyrannical energy flowed continuously from her fingertips into her body. Under this tyrannical energy, Bailey Hong Zhuang hurriedly activated the demon summoning scripture. If she did not activate the technique, she might explode and die under the infusion of this energy. After Bailey Hong Zhuang had completely absorbed the blood-red ball of light, Bailey Hong Zhuang sat down and clasped her hands together as she continuously activated the technique. As Bailey Hong Zhuang continued to activate the technique, her aura gradually increased. The cultivators in the Blood-Chi Tower kept looking at the stairs. They just wanted to know who the cultivator who had obtained the inheritance was. The inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower could be said to be a once-in-a-century occurrence. However, in just a few years, 2 cultivators had obtained the inheritance. It was truly shocking. What they were most curious about was how this cultivator managed to break through the trial. Everyone knew that the trials of the Blood-Chi Tower were abnormal. The difficulty increased every 3 floors, and in the end, they didn't even have any hope of breaking through. If it was because they were not strong enough, it would be fine. However, the cultivators who passed the trial of the Blood-Chi Tower were also in the Red Realm. Despite being at the same level of cultivation, the other party was able to pass while they were unable to do so. This was what was truly difficult to accept. No matter who the cultivator who obtained the inheritance was, he or she would become famous in the Bloodground Abyss. Inside the inn, young madam has successfully broken through the 9th level of the trial. Should we go and receive young madam? Blackwood raised his head and looked at Bewitching. Originally, the young master had insisted on staying in the Bloodground Abyss for the sake of the young master's wife's inheritance. Now that the young madam had successfully obtained the inheritance, the young master could finally let go of the things that he had been worried about. Bewitching shook his head slightly. Hong Zhuang has indeed passed the trial, but she still needs some time to obtain the inheritance. Let's wait. He had obtained the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower before, so he knew that the inheritance also needed some time. He knew about the selection competition. Although the day of the selection competition was approaching, it wasn't as urgent as the Tiangang sect. Come to think of it, Han Shilling had something to do with it. He knew Hong Zhuang's temperament very well. She had always been someone who would not attack unless she was attacked. Chapter 1093. Hearing this, Heimu nodded slightly. He had not passed the trial of the Blood-Chi Tower and did not know about this. The last time the young master had obtained the inheritance, he was on the 6th level of the trial. At that time, the old sect master had led them. Now that he had surpassed the Red Realm, it was obviously impossible for him to obtain the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower. When Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes and exited her cultivation state, anyone who was in front of her would notice that her ink-black phoenix eyes had unknowingly turned blood-red. However, the blood-red color only appeared for a short moment and soon returned to its original black color. Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate and beautiful face was filled with a trace of emotion. Even after obtaining the Blood-Chi field, she could not help but feel amazed. The Blood-Chi field was a very mysterious energy. It was like a coercion, but contained a hint of blood and had a power that could erode one's mind. This situation was not much different from what she had imagined before. However, it could suppress the opponent's cultivation in battle and increase one's own strength. The Blood-Chi Tower and the Blood-Chi field are indeed magical. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint and moving smile. She felt a trace of relief in her heart. Fortunately, she had succeeded. If she had left this time, she did not know when she would be able to return here. She was already at the 8th level of the Red Realm. Once she participated in the selection contest, it was very likely that she would reach the Orange Realm. At that time, she would not have the opportunity to participate in the assessment. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile gradually deepened. Many things were destined. After obtaining the inheritance, Bailey Hongzhuang did not stay any longer and immediately left the Blood-Chi Tower. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked to the 3rd level of the Blood-Chi Tower, almost all the cultivators' eyes fell on her. Look, Bailey Hongzhuang is out. In my opinion, the person who obtained the Blood-Chi field must be her. Don't you feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's aura seems to have improved a lot? Don't worry. Once the inheritance is over, your name will appear on the Blood Aura Field's transfer pillar. Hearing everyone's discussion, Bailey Hongzhuang only glanced at them indifferently. Soon, all the cultivators in the Bloodground Abyss would know that she was the one who had obtained the Blood Aura inheritance. However, it didn't matter to her whether others knew or not. She and Bewitching were about to leave the Bloodground Abyss. Not only on the 3rd floor of the Blood-Chi Tower, but the performance of the cultivators on the 2nd and 1st floors was also the same, or even more exaggerated. This was because they were cultivators who had not even passed the first 3 levels of the single elimination tournament. Bailey Hongzhuang had only been in the Blood-Chi Tower for a few months, but she had already obtained the inheritance. In comparison, they had worked so hard for the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower for so long, but it was all for naught. One could imagine the irony in their hearts. Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the tower under everyone's gazes. It was as if she had suddenly become the most famous character in the Bloodground Abyss. Soon, everyone noticed that a golden name was slowly appearing on the Blood-Chi Tower's transfer pillar. The name is about to appear. Everyone was excited and held their breaths. They only wanted to know the final result. Chapter 1094. Even though everyone had already guessed that the practitioner who got the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower was likely to be Bailey Hongzhuang at this moment, when they knew that it was really Bailey Hongzhuang, their hearts couldn't help but tremble. My God, it's really Bailey Hongzhuang. What is the background of this Bailey Hongzhuang? How did she get the inheritance so easily? No matter what her background is, just the fact that she can get the inheritance has already proved that her strength is not simple. Some practitioners who were originally dissatisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang also dispelled their original evil thoughts after knowing Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements. Needless to say, Bailey Hongzhuang must be a very extraordinary person in the future. In the history of the Blood-Chi Tower, all the practitioners who got the inheritance were extraordinary people. There was no doubt about this. After knowing that Bailey Hongzhuang actually got the inheritance of the Blood-Chi Tower, Bloody Rose was deeply shocked in her heart. Originally, she only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was good, but she was still not worthy of Bewitching. However, now, after knowing Bailey Hongzhuang's achievements, Everything she originally clamored for became a joke. This woman's cultivation talent was so strong. At this moment, Bloody Rose was not only jealous that Bailey Hongzhuang could get Debachen's heart, but she was even more jealous that Bailey Hongzhuang could get such a result. This was just as Bailey Hongzhuang said before, she would rely on her own strength and did not need to rely on anyone. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked out of the Bloodchi Tower, she saw Debachen and Heimu standing at the door looking at her with a smile. The three beasts were also sitting on the shoulders of Debachen and Heimu. During this time, the three beasts and Debachen were also very familiar with each other. No matter who they sat on, they were very used to it. Wife, congratulations. Debachen's handsome face curved into a happy and enchanting smile as he reached out his right hand to grab Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Her smile was beautiful and bright. I told you that I can pass. Young mistress, you're really amazing. Heimu admires you. Heimu was not stingy with his praise. He was already full of admiration for the young mistress. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful cherry lips curled up slightly. Her eyes were bright and moving. Heimu is getting better at talking. Heimu smiled and scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. While Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were talking, many cultivators were looking at them. After all, the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang had obtained the inheritance of the Bloodchi Tower was an explosive piece of news. Many cultivators wanted to know how Bailey Hongzhuang had broken through the trial. They had been trapped in the trial for many years. Debachen's deep gaze swept across the cultivators who were looking at them. He said, "Wife, let's go back first." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. There were too many people here. It was indeed not a good place to talk. The three of them left quickly, and many cultivators' gazes were fixed on them. Feeling the gazes around her, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned slightly. The situation was clearly different from what she had imagined. Logically speaking, this inheritance could only be obtained by cultivators who passed. Even if other cultivators killed her, they would not be able to obtain this inheritance. They should not be following her closely. Chapter 1095. Wife, are you tired from the last round today? As they walked, Debachen's voice quietly entered Bailey Hongzhuang's ears. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head slightly. No, I'm in great shape right now. She had relied entirely on the Chaos Ring to pass the last round today. As for herself, she had not used any energy at all. Moreover, she was in great shape after receiving the legacy of the Bloodchi Tower. She could even be said to be full of energy. Then how about we leave the Bloodground Abyss right now? Debachen's dark eyes flickered with a deep light. His handsome face was calm and composed. All right, Bailey Hongzhuang agreed without any hesitation. They had originally planned to leave after receiving the legacy of the Bloodchi Tower. Since they had already received it, there was no need for them to continue staying here. Moreover, judging from the cultivator's situation, if they continued to stay here, something might happen. It was better to leave as soon as possible. After receiving Bailey Hongzhuang's confirmation, Debachen and Heimu looked at each other. The situation was just as they had expected. Whenever a cultivator who received the legacy appeared, the Bloodground Abyss would not be peaceful. Back then, Debachen had not stayed in the Bloodground Abyss for long after receiving the legacy. He had directly left. The three of them walked out of the Bloodground Abyss. Many cultivators were stunned when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others preparing to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang is preparing to leave the Bloodground Abyss. She's already successfully obtained the Bloodchi Field. Why is she still staying here? If Bailey Hongzhuang leaves, won't we not know the trick to breaking through the trial? Many cultivators began to hesitate. Although they knew that everyone's trial was different, it was always good to know more. Perhaps they would encounter the same trial. However, when the crowd saw Debachen beside Bailey Hongzhuang, many of the cultivators who originally had evil intentions chose to give up. After all, Debachen's display in the Bloodchi Tower had intimidated many people. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two unhurriedly walked out of the Bloodground Abyss. Heimu had already prepared the horses according to Debachen's instructions. When they were about to reach the entrance of the Bloodland Abyss, Bailey Hongzhuang saw the horses that had been prepared not far away. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichun in astonishment. It seemed that Di Beichun had already expected such a situation. With a flip, the three of them immediately left on their horses. After the three of them successfully left the blood-ground abyss, a joyful smile spread across Bailey Hongzhuang's calm face. Fortunately, no cultivators had attacked them until they left. We finally left successfully. While she was walking, her heart was in her mouth. Once a cultivator attacked, it was very likely that it would be a group battle. Looking at the beautiful smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Di Beichun's face softened a bit. This time, there were no cultivators who made a move. Our luck is not bad. He Mu looked at the young master and young mistress, who were made in heaven. He steered his horse slower and quietly followed behind the young master and young mistress. Chapter 1096. Yuanwu City. When Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun returned to Yuanwu City, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing warmly received Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiyue. Young Master Di, Miss Bailey, how did you feel in the blood-ground abyss? Yuan Hongyang had a faint smile on his face, but there was a trace of admiration in his eyes as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiyue. Long ago, he knew that Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang were not simple. However, he did not expect Di Beichun and Lu Qiyue to stay in the blood-ground abyss for such a long time. It was truly surprising. Not bad, Di Beichun said with a faint smile. Just as Big Brother Yuan said before, the blood-ground abyss was very bloody and surprising. Bailey Hongzhuang's smile was faint and elegant. There was no need to talk about what happened in the blood-ground abyss after leaving the blood-ground abyss. It must have been very tiring for you in the blood-ground abyss. Since you have returned to Yuanwu City, why don't you come to our Yuan clan to rest for a few days? Yuan Hongyang asked. Yuan Hongyang was very grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiyue. If not for the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Qiyue, the Yuan clan would not have been able to suppress the Xie clans so easily. Now, after the Yuan clan's hard work, the Xie clan's arrogance had been completely suppressed by them. Not only that, the Xie clan's loss of successor like Xie Qi was undoubtedly a huge blow. It had a significant impact on the Xie clan's reputation. While the Xie clan was in chaos, they took over some of the Xie clan's businesses. Regarding this, the Lu clan had always maintained a neutral attitude. As a result, their Yuan clan had become the #1 clan in Yuanwu City. All these years, they had always wanted to achieve this goal. However, the three clans had been at odds for too long and did not agree to break this situation. However, he did not expect that the two friends he had made along the way would help him complete all of this. It was like a pie falling from the sky. Therefore, Yuan Hongyang was very grateful to Di Beichun and Lu Qiyue. Thank you, Big Brother Yuan, for your kindness, but we have urgent matters to attend to, so we can't stay here for long. Bailey Hongzhuang declined politely. For Yuan Hongyang and the others, they were originally just acquaintances. They had met by chance, and it was fate to be able to come to this point. Hearing this, Yuan Hongyang suddenly understood. So that's how it is. Then I will immediately arrange for the wyverns to depart for the Sky Swallow Kingdom. Many thanks, Big Brother Yuan. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Bailey Hongzhuang. And Hongzhuang didn't want Di to be labeled as someone addicted to love because of her. Because she missed, and Qiyue's were very much. Yuan Hongyang waved his hand. If you want to thank someone, it should be the cultivators of my Yuan clan. Leave such a small matter to us. We'll get it done quickly. Now, as the Yuan clan's weight in Yuanwu City became more and more important, the wyvern was completely under their control. Therefore, it was easy for him to help Di Beichun and Lu Qiyue arrange for the wyvern to leave. Yuan Hongyang immediately went to arrange it, while Yuan Liqing stood beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Her pretty face revealed a bit of reluctance. It was not easy to see you come back from the bloody ground abyss. I didn't expect you to return to Tianyin Kingdom so soon. Yuan Liqing sighed. After you leave this time, I'm afraid we won't be able to see each other again. Chapter 1097. I hope so. The corners of Yuan Liqing's mouth curled into a smile. However, the smile on her slightly desolate face did not reach the bottom of her heart. In the future, I will probably go to the Bloodground Abyss again. At that time, I will definitely come to the Origin Martial City to see you. Her exquisite and beautiful face bloomed with a bright and beautiful smile. During this period of time in the Bloodground Abyss, she had improved a lot. Naturally, she would not miss such a place that was beneficial to improving her cultivation. Being able to obtain the inheritance of the Bloodchi Tower this time was already the best harvest for her. However, she was still very interested in the training ground behind the Bloodground Abyss. As long as she had the chance in the future, she would definitely come here again. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was serious and did not seem to be comforting her, the smile on Yuan Liqing's face widened. That's great. When the time comes, you must come and find me. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Definitely. Yuan Liqing, whose mood had improved, carefully sized up Bailey Hongzhuang. With this look, her eyes could not help but be filled with surprise. Hongzhuang, I feel that your aura has improved a lot. Yuan Liqing frowned slightly. Bailey Hongzhuang had only left the Origin Martial City for a few months, but when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang, the feeling was completely different. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was controlling her aura, and she could not feel it clearly, she felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was much stronger than before. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I have indeed improved in the Bloodground Abyss this time. What's your cultivation now? Yuan Liqing asked curiously. In the past, she was also filled with curiosity about the Bloodground Abyss. However, she could not accept such a bloody and dangerous place. There were enemies everywhere. The slightest carelessness could lead to a fatal disaster. In such a place, she could not even sleep in peace. Originally, she thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian were going to take a look and would be back soon. Who would have thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian would actually stay in the Bloodground Abyss for such a long time? She was truly envious. Orange, level 1. Bailey Hongzhuang did not hide it. When she passed the first 8 floors of the Bloodchi Tower, her strength had already reached the 8th level of the Red Realm. After successfully breaking through the 9th level of the trial and obtaining the inheritance of the Bloodchi Tower, her cultivation level increased to Orange level rank 1. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Yuan Liqing couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in horror, clearly unable to believe what she had heard. Orange level rank 1. Yuan Liqing's eyes widened. You're leveling up too fast. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. The Bloodground Abyss is indeed a place that promotes one's cultivation level. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but exclaim. She was also surprised by the speed of her cultivation level improvement. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's exclamation, Yuan Liqing had a guess in her mind. She knew what kind of place the Bloodground Abyss was. Presumably, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation level had been forced to improve in that environment. Looks like you guys have suffered a lot in the Bloodground Abyss. Yuan Liqing could not help but exclaim. What kind of pressure could allow one's cultivation level to improve so quickly? Chapter 1098. Not long after, Yuan Hanyang returned. Young Master D, Miss Bailey. Yuan Hanyang had a faint smile on his face. The flying beasts have already been arranged. You can set off whenever you want. Thank you, young Master Yuan. Di Beiqian bowed. It's our duty. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian looked at each other. They did not plan to waste any more time in Yuanwu City. Since the flying beasts had already been arranged, they could set off now. Yuan Hanyang also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beiqian had urgent matters to attend to. He immediately headed towards the direction of the flying beasts with Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two. Soon, Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beiqian, and He Mu sat on the flying beast together. Young Master D, Miss Bailey, take care. Yuan Hanyang stood below the flying beast and said, You guys take care too. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Hongzhuang, the next time you come to Yuanwu City, you must come to the Yuan clan to find me. Yuan Liqing waved her hand and said. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Definitely. The flying beasts quickly flew into the air and carried Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two, as well as the three beasts, towards Sky Swallow Kingdom. Only when the flying beasts gradually disappeared from their sight did Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing retract their gazes. I didn't expect them to be able to stay in the blood-ground abyss for so long. It's really unexpected. I wonder when He Mu went to find them. Yuan Hongyang's eyes were filled with emotion. Thinking back, his performance when he went to the blood-ground abyss was terrible. He originally thought that Deep Beichin and He Mu's performance would not be much better than his. He did not expect the two of them to be gone for so long. Hongyang, you don't know how terrifying Hong Zhuang's improvement in the blood-ground abyss was. Yuan Liqing pretended to be mysterious as she looked at Yuan Hongyang. Bailey Hongzhuang had scared her, so she wanted to scare Yuan Hongyang as well. Looking at Yuan Liqing's appearance, Yuan Hongyang was also very curious. The blood-ground abyss can indeed help cultivators increase their cultivation. How much has Bailey Hongzhuang improved? She stayed in the blood-ground abyss for a few months, so she should be able to reach the 5th level of the Red Realm, right? TSK. Yuan Liqing waved her hand. You're underestimating Hongzhuang. Yuan Hongyang's eyes narrowed. Could it be that he has advanced by 2 stages? Yuan Liqing shook her head and continued to look at Yuan Hongyang. 3rd stage? Yuan Hongyang was surprised. Isn't this promotion too fast? Raising 1 level in a month is impossible under normal circumstances. That's not right, Yuan Liqing said. Guess again. Yuan Hongyang frowned and looked at Yuan Liqing in disbelief. Don't tell me that Bailey Hongzhuang has advanced by 5 steps? It's the 7th stage, Yuan Liqing emphasized. Previously, Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation was at the 3rd level of the Red Realm. Now that she was at the 1st level of the Orange Realm, wasn't that an advancement of 7 stages? Yuan Hongyang was stunned as soon as he heard this. He looked at Yuan Liqing in disbelief, as if he had heard something extremely unbelievable. 7th stage? Then Bailey Hongzhuang is at the 1st level of the Orange Realm? Yuan Liqing nodded affirmatively. That's right. Hongzhuang's cultivation is now at the 1st level of the Orange Realm. How is that possible? Yuan Hongyang furrowed his brows in disbelief. How did she improve so quickly? Chapter 1099. Looking at Yuan Hongyang's incredulous expression, the smile on Yuan Liqing's face widened. At least, she was not the only one who was shocked. The two of them walked towards the Yuan residence. Originally, they were very happy to see Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichin and wanted to invite them to stay at the Yuan residence for a while. They did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichin to leave so quickly after meeting them. It was really a pity. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing. After seeing who it was, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing were surprised. Big brother, why are you here? Yuan Hongyang asked in surprise. The person who came was none other than the Yuan family head, Yuan Qingshuo. When Yuan Qingshuo saw that only Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing were there, he could not help but ask, why are there only the two of you? Where are Miss Bailey and young Master D? They have urgent matters to attend to, so I arranged for the wyvern to send them away, Yuan Hongyang replied. Big brother, why are you looking for them? They've left? Yuan Qingshuo was startled. Obviously, this answer was not what he expected. Yuan Liqing nodded slightly. However, from Yuan Qingshuo's attitude, she could feel that the situation was not so simple. Big brother, why are you looking for them in such a hurry? Did something happen? Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing looked at Yuan Qingshuo curiously. Their big brother had always been steady, and it was rare to see him like this. I just received news that Bailey Hongzhuang has obtained the inheritance of the Bloodchi Tower, Yuan Qingshuo sighed. Yuan Qingshuo sighed faintly. After hearing this news, he was completely stunned. How difficult was it to obtain the inheritance of the Bloodchi Tower? He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to obtain the inheritance in less than 3 months at the Bloodgrave Abyss. Her strength and talent were really amazing. When he thought of how they knew Bailey Hongzhuang and Deep Beichin, Yuan Qingshuo could not help but feel excited. His younger brother had only met them by chance on the way here. If these friends were so capable, He could not miss this opportunity. He must build a good relationship with them. It was precisely because of this that he had immediately rushed out from his family to welcome Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Ruyun. He did not expect that they had already left. Hearing Yuan Chengshua's words, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing looked at each other in disbelief. "Big brother, what did you say?" Yuan Hongyang asked again in disbelief. "Bailey Hongzhuang has obtained the legacy of the Blood Qi Tower." Yuan Qingshua wasn't surprised by Yuan Hongyang's reaction. "You've met two incredible people this time. I was wondering how Bailey Hongzhuang managed to level up to orange level rank, one in such a short time. She must have passed the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower," Yuan Liqing exclaimed. At this moment, Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing understood. As it turned out, they didn't need to worry about whether or not Bailey Hongzhuang could adapt to the environment of the Bloodground Abyss. Not only did they adapt, they even made a name for themselves in the Bloodground Abyss. Not only that, Di Beichun is the cultivator who obtained the inheritance of the Blood Qi Tower a few years ago. Come to think of it, that's why Di Beichun brought Bailey Hongzhuang to the Bloodground Abyss. Yuan Qingshua's words were like a heavy bomb that smashed into Yuan Hongyang and Yuan Liqing's hearts. When they thought of how they had advised Bailey Hongzhuang and Gu Ruyun about the dangers of the Bloodground Abyss, they felt that they were ridiculous. Chapter 1100. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun naturally didn't know how much shock their affairs had brought to Yuan Hongyang and others. They just rode the flying beast to resist the cold. "Wifey, do you want to go back to Tiangang's sect with me this time?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyes and looked at Di Beichun with a little doubt. "I have to participate in the selection competition first before entering Tiangang's sect." They had already discussed it before. Before proving that she had enough qualifications to enter Tiangang's sect, she would not go. Whether it was for Di Beichun's reputation or for her own pride, she couldn't go through the back door. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's puzzled look, Di Beichun's lips evoked an evil and charming smile. "I mean, you go to Tiangang's sect with me. The selection competition will start soon. I will let He Mu pass the news to Xia Jiqing and let them prepare to participate in the selection competition. You will go with me and enter the selection competition directly, saving the trouble of running back and forth." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. According to Di Beichun's words, it was not impossible. However, at this moment, she went back with Di Beichun. She was afraid that it would inevitably cause an uproar in Tiangang's sect. At least, Han Shilling would not stop. "Wifey, this selection competition will not end in a short time. Don't you want to go to Tiangang's sect to announce your ownership?" Di Beichun winked at Bailey Hongzhuang. For him, it was good to be able to stay with his wifey for a while. He understood that many disciples in the sect were full of curiosity about Hongzhuang, and there were many unpleasant remarks. However, the reason he brought Hongzhuang back this time was to tell everyone that no matter what other people thought, Hongzhuang was the woman he loved the most. With this opportunity, he could also let some people completely give up. Looking at Di Beichun's seductive appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile gradually widened. Once such a devilishly handsome man tried to seduce you, that kind of charm was something that no ordinary woman could resist. All right, Bailey Hongzhuang did not mind going to Tiangang's sect to meet Han Shilling again. In the future, she would set foot in Tiangang's sect sooner or later, so it might not be a bad thing to go earlier. As for what Han Shilling might do, she would deal with whatever came her way. She would deal with it as it came. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang agreed to his proposal, Di Beichun was in a good mood. "The last time I returned to Tiangang's sect, I already told everyone your identity. Everyone is very curious about you. However, there are good and bad things in this curiosity. After you go, don't worry about anything else. Just trust me. I will deal with all these problems." Di Beichun held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly. He did not want Bailey Hongzhuang to suffer any grievances. However, he was forced to leave Tiangang's sect for 3 years. When he returned, he suddenly told everyone that he was married. Naturally, some people were dissatisfied. Among them, the most dissatisfied was the Great Elder. However, he would deal with these problems one by one. The first and most important thing was to let everyone believe in the existence of Hongzhuang. Only after proving this point, he could deal with other things. Chapter 1101. For Bailey Hongzhuang, other than the people she cared about, she didn't care about the words of others. After all, she had long been used to these discussions over the years. With Han Shiling's position in Tiangang's sect, the disciples of Tiangang's sect would certainly believe her words. When she went to Tiangang's sect, it was inevitable that she would hear some bad words. However, these wouldn't have any effect on her. Sooner or later, she would have to face this matter. It wasn't a bad idea to go to Tiangang's sect earlier to broaden her horizons. Soon, she would let Han Shiling know the taste of being slapped in the face. Looking at the confident radiance on Bailey Hongzhuang's delicate, smiling face, Bewitching tightened his grip on Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. "Wife, I love you." Under such circumstances, he only wanted to say these 3 words to Bailey Hongzhuang. From the beginning, he was the one who liked Hongzhuang and pursued Hongzhuang. Now, Hongzhuang had to bear some unnecessary pressure because of him. In his heart, he felt very guilty towards Hongzhuang. However, he would solve these problems as soon as possible. As soon as these words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face suddenly flushed with a touch of crimson. Her clear and bright eyes were also moist and moving. He Mu quietly sat in a position far away from Bailey Hongzhuang and Bewitching. He was minding his own business and cultivating. See no evil, hear no evil. He still understood this situation. At this moment, the 3 beasts were also sitting in He Mu's arms. Originally, the 3 of them had been following their master around like third wheels. Now that He Mu had appeared, they were completely handed over to him by Bewitching. Now, they couldn't even watch the show. As Bailey Hongzhuang and the others got closer to Tianyin Kingdom, they also found that the original cold had gradually dissipated. The cotton-padded clothes on their bodies were also put into their universe bags. Other than the snow origin country, which was a country of ice and snow, the other places would not make them feel so cold. Finally, under such a hurried journey, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 2 successfully arrived at the kingdom of Sky Swallow. Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat emotional when she came to Sky Swallow Kingdom again. Accustomed to the bloody scenes of the Bloody Ground Abyss, he only felt that the kingdom of Sky Swallow was unusually peaceful. "He Mu, go to Tsanglan College first and tell this news to the cultivators in the special enrollment class. Then come back to Tiangang's sect to find me." Bewitching explained things to He Mu as they walked. The relationship between Bailey Hongzhuang and Xia Jiqing was very good. Bewitching was also very clear. It was precisely because of this that he specifically asked He Mu to inform Xia Jiqing and the others. Not all cultivators could participate in the selection competition. They had to pass some tests before they could participate. "Young master, you mean to let Lady Xia and the rest go to Tiangang's sect and participate in the selection after passing the Tiangang sect's test?" He Mu asked. Usually, this selection competition was selected by the dynasty. Only the top cultivators in the dynasty had the possibility to participate in the selection competition. Now, many dynasties had begun to prepare for this selection. Sects also had places for assessment. It was just that the cultivators who passed the sect assessment and participated in the selection competition were equivalent to seeded players. Needless to say, the strength of the young master's wife naturally didn't need to be mentioned. However, the other students in the special enrollment class might not necessarily be able to pass the assessment. Bewitching nodded. "Yes, let them come together." Chapter 1102. Seeing that Bewitching had already made his decision, He Mu no longer questioned it. He knew that the young master had always been very good to the young lady. Through this method, the young lady would be able to participate in the selection with familiar friends. Otherwise, those who participated in the selection would all be unfamiliar cultivators. Undoubtedly, cooperation would not be a small problem. "Young master, I will immediately go to Azure Water School to inform Miss Xia and the others. You and the young lady should return to Tiangang's sect first," He Mu said. Now, Tiangang's sect had been urging the young master to return. If they did not return as soon as possible, the storm that the young lady would face would be even stronger. Di Beichun nodded slightly. Be careful on the way. Heimu no longer hesitated and immediately rode his horse in the direction of Azure Water School. After Heimu left, Di Beichun and Bailey Hongzhuang did not stay for long and immediately rushed to Tiangang Sect Azure Water School. Ren Tianxiong and Huan Chuyu had already informed all the students about the selection competition. This once every 5-year selection competition was an extremely good opportunity for cultivators to become a carp leaping over the Dragon Gate. Once they had a good performance in the selection, they would be able to step into the clouds and truly enter the top forces of Shangxian continent. If they missed this opportunity, they would have to wait for another 5 years. The cultivators of Azure Water School went crazy after hearing this news. This was a good opportunity that no one could give up. It was just that the selection test was not easy to pass. If one's strength was not strong enough, they would not even have the chance to participate in the selection. Jiqing, the selection is about to begin. We have to go back to our respective dynasties to fight for a place to participate. Zhang Yunfeng sat beside Xia Jiqing. This was an opportunity that they absolutely could not miss. As a cultivator, they naturally wanted to enter a sect. That was a place that belonged to cultivators. Once they became a member of a sect, their status would be completely different. Moreover, the various resources in the sect would be far more abundant than what they currently had access to. Xia Jiqing nodded slightly, her pretty face revealing a bit of loneliness. The selection is about to begin, but Hong Zhuang has not returned yet. Could it be that she does not know about this selection? This was a good opportunity that cultivators simply could not miss. It would be a pity if Hong Zhuang missed this opportunity because she didn't know about it. Listening to Xia Jiqing's words, Zhang Yunfeng couldn't help but chuckle. How is that possible? Di Beichun is the young lord of Tiangang Sect. He must know about this. Since Di Beichun knows about it, how could Hong Zhuang not know about it? Xia Jiqing reacted. You're right. Hong Zhuang should also be participating in this selection, right? Zhang Yunfeng pondered and shook her head. Not necessarily. With Di Beichun's identity, it is not a problem to recruit Hong Zhuang into Tiangang Sect. Maybe Hong Zhuang will not participate in the selection competition and directly go to Tiangang Sect as a disciple. The purpose of the selection competition was to give cultivators the opportunity to enter a sect. Bailey Hongzhuang already had the opportunity to enter a sect. It didn't matter whether she participated in the selection competition or not. Xia Jiqing was stunned, but soon a firm light appeared in her eyes. Hongzhuang will definitely participate. With her understanding of Hongzhuang would definitely not enter Tiangang Sect like this. Chapter 1103. Seeing that Xia Jiqing was so sure, Zhang Yunfeng was also a little surprised. According to her idea, Hongzhuang was already Di Beichun's wife, so entering Tiangang Sect was a matter of course. According to the principal and vice principal's introduction, this selection competition had a certain risk, and if one was not careful, they could lose their life. With Hongzhuang's identity, there was no need to take risks. It was better to go to Tiangang Sect to cultivate, which would be better. I know Hongzhuang's temperament. Xia Jiqing smiled faintly. She knew Hongzhuang's inner thoughts. She had never been a person who liked to take advantage of others. What's more, Hongzhuang had always felt that taking a shortcut was not a good thing. Only taking it step by step seriously was the best result. Zhang Yunfeng shrugged her shoulders. She didn't know why Xia Jiqing was so sure of her answer, but she didn't object. If Hongzhuang also participated in the selection competition, maybe they could meet in the arena and form a team together. Jiqing, when are you going to return to the dynasty? Bai Junyu slowly walked over. Since the principal and vice principal announced the news, many cultivators had packed up and were ready to return to the dynasty to participate in the assessment. If they passed the assessment and had the opportunity to participate in the selection competition, they would participate in the selection competition. If they did not pass the assessment, then they would return to the college. Although everyone was extremely excited, only a small portion of them were able to participate in the selection competition. Most of the cultivators did not have the opportunity to participate. It was said that each dynasty only had a few places or even a dozen places. This point alone showed how fierce the competition was. Xia Jiqing's eyebrows slightly wrinkled. I want to wait for 2 days. Hong Zhuang may be back. If she comes back, I will go with her to participate in the assessment. She and Hong Zhuang had known each other for so long. Naturally, she had a certain understanding of Hong Zhuang's life. Fengbo country was a place that Hong Zhuang did not have a good impression of. Hong Zhuang was not willing to go to Fengbo country to compete for a place, so it was better to go with her to other dynasties. Listening to Xia Jiqing's answer, Bai Junyu was not surprised. Xia Jiqing had always regarded Bailey Hong Zhuang as her best friend. Bailey Hong Zhuang had been away for so many days, and Xia Jiqing had been thinking about her. Now it was normal for Xia Jiqing to wait for Bailey Hong Zhuang to participate together. He had already expected this before. Then I'll wait with you for a few days. Bailey Hong Zhuang will probably be back soon. Bai Junyu smiled faintly. He felt that it was good to have a chance to accompany Xia Jiqing for a few more days. Once one of them passed the test and participated in the selection, they wouldn't be able to see each other for a long time. When Gong Shaoqing and the others walked over and heard Bai Junyu's words, everyone immediately revealed ambiguous smiles. Although Bai Junyu and Xia Jiqing had never broken through this layer of window paper, all of them had already tacitly agreed that the two were a couple. Gong Shaoqing, Dong Fangyu, when are you planning to leave? Seeing Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu, Zhang Yunfeng asked curiously. Now that many people had begun to prepare, they couldn't stay at the school for too long. After all, once they missed it, it would be a big regret. Gong Shaoqing and Dong Fangyu looked at each other and said, Our thoughts are the same as Xia Jiqing's. Wait a few more days. If Hong Zhuang hasn't returned, we will leave. Chapter 1104. Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen rushed all the way to Tiangang sect. Tiangang sect was far away, but Bailey Hong Zhuang and Di Beichen obviously would not care about the exhaustion during the journey. The closer to Tiangang sect, Bailey Hong Zhuang's heart became calmer and calmer. With Di Beichen by her side, even if she reached Tiangang sect, there would be no danger. The only thing she needed to care about was Han Shiling's verbal attack on her. Hong Zhuang, Tiangang sect, is in front. Di Beichen's handsome face outlined an elegant and charming smile, and looked at Bailey Hong Zhuang. Bailey Hong Zhuang nodded slightly, and from Di Beichen's expression, she could see his feelings for Tiangang sect, where he lived since he was a child. Even if there were some people in the sect who didn't like, he had great feelings for Tiangang sect. Looking in the direction pointed by Di Beichen, Bailey Hong Zhuang only saw the mountains and Cyan. In addition, there were no buildings at all, let alone such a large sect as Tiangang sect. In this regard, Bailey Hong Zhuang was not surprised. Sects and major forces have always maintained a certain degree of concealment. If you don't know the way to enter the sect, you can't get in even if you stay here for 10 days or half a month. This is the camouflage of the sect and the means to protect the sect. Bailey Hong Zhuang had a certain understanding of her previous life. There's also a camouflage outside the Bailey family, and only the cultivators of the Bailey family could enter. At that time, even some small villages near the Bailey family didn't even know that the famous Bailey family was not far from them. The camouflage of each sect was different. Therefore, Bailey Hong Zhuang did not know where Tiangang sect was in the mountains. Looking at Bailey Hong Zhuang's puzzled look, Di Beichen's smile widened a little. This is the camouflage of Tiangang sect. There's a small enchantment here that hides Tiangang sect. I see. Bailey Hong Zhuang smiled. Just from this enchantment can see the strength of Tiangang zone. After following Di Beichen for a while, Di Beichen finally stopped. Then, Bailey Hong Zhuang saw Di Beichen's hands move continuously. Gradually, an energy rune appeared in his hands. In the next moment, Di Beichen pushed this energy rune forward. Bailey Hong Zhuang noticed that a rune that was exactly the same as Di Beichen's rune appeared in the air. As these two runes merged into one, the air suddenly set off a ripple, as if a transparent door gradually opened. A new world appeared in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang saw a group of dense mountains, and on the largest mountain in the middle, a huge white building complex appeared in her sight. Obviously, that was Tiangang's sect. The dazzling golden sunlight shone on Tiangang's sect. The mysterious Tiangang sect at this moment looked holy and mighty, making people feel reverence. It was like a paradise. Bailey Hongzhuang felt that the yuan power in the air here was much richer than the outside world. Looking at the familiar Tiangang sect, Di Beichen's eyes were filled with a smile. Then he held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft hand. "Wife, let's go up." Chapter 1105. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen walked towards Tiangang's sect. The Tiangang sect disciples guarding the foot of the mountain immediately revealed themselves when they saw Di Beichen. "Greetings, young sect master." The two of them bowed respectfully. From their attitude, it was obvious that they respected Di Beichen. However, the two of them couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and finally at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, who were holding hands. "This is my wife." Noticing the two of them sizing her up, Di Beichen suddenly spoke out. The two disciples were stunned when they heard this. However, their reaction speed was extremely fast, and they immediately greeted respectfully. "Young sect master's wife." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen in astonishment. She didn't expect Di Beichen to be so straightforward. However, Di Beichen winked and smiled at Bailey Hongzhuang before continuing to walk up the mountain. He brought Hongzhuang back this time to introduce Hongzhuang's identity to everyone and let everyone know that Hongzhuang was his wife. As for the other groundless rumors, they should have completely dissipated by now. He didn't want Hongzhuang to suffer any grievances and didn't want to make Hongzhuang feel uneasy. This simple and direct method was the best. After Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang left, the two disciples guarding the mountain couldn't help but be shocked. Looks like what Senior Sister Han said is indeed right. Young sect master really has someone he likes outside. However, according to what Senior Han said, young sect master's wife is a woman who climbs up the social ladder. However, young sect master's wife doesn't seem to be like this. I think young sect master's wife is really beautiful. Even Senior Sister Han can't compare to her. The man's face was full of amazement. There had always been a lot of beauties in Tiangang sect, but Han Xiling was definitely the most outstanding one among many beauties. Normally, there were countless disciples who admired Han Xiling in the sect. Everyone knew that Han Xiling only had young Master Di in his heart. Although the others admired him, they could only watch from afar. Originally, they thought that young sect master had been agitated after staying outside for 3 years, which was why he found a woman to marry. But now, it seemed that this woman was outstanding in both appearance and temperament. She was a perfect match for the young sect master. Yeah, I think this woman isn't an ordinary person either, right? The two of them looked at each other, their eyes filled with emotions. However, they had no right to speak on this matter. Bailey Hongzhuang followed Di Beichen all the way to Tiangang sect. Tiangang sect's location was very high, but with their speed, they still arrived very quickly. The moment Di Beichen appeared in Tiangang sect, the entire Tiangang sect was in an uproar. Di Beichen was the disciple of the old sect master, the young sect master of Tiangang sect, and a famous young talent in the Shengxian continent. No matter from which angle, he was an existence that could not be ignored. Moreover, with Di Beichen's reputation in Tiangang sect, he had always been a person who could call the wind and summon the rain. Here, the female disciples regarded him as their dream lover, while the male disciples regarded him as their idol. In the past, Di Beichen had always stayed in Tiangang sect. Ever since that incident, Di Beichen had stayed outside for 3 years. Even now that Di Beichen's legs have been healed, he still rarely returned to the sect. Chapter 1106. For a long time, Di Beichen had been the perfect lover in the hearts of all the female disciples of Tiangang sect. Although everyone knew that Han Shilling was interested in Di Beichen, and the two were often together, according to the research of the female disciples, this was likely to be unrequited love. If Di Beichen really liked Han Shilling, then they would have been together a long time ago. Why would they keep a certain distance from each other after knowing each other for so many years? Although Han Shilling usually had a cold and arrogant appearance, everyone could see the feelings for Di Beichen. Then, the reason for this was Di Beichen. It was precisely because of this that everyone was also very curious about the woman Di Beichen liked. They didn't know what kind of woman could capture his confidence. However, according to the recent news from the cultivators around Han Shilling, the woman was a woman who wanted to climb up the branch to become a phoenix. She used some methods to deceive Di Beichen to obtain Di Beichen's heart. In this regard, everyone instinctively felt disgusted with the woman. Di Beichen was the most perfect man in their hearts. Now that he was occupied by such a woman who was not worthy at all, they were naturally unhappy. What made them feel most unacceptable was that Di Beichen didn't even care about the matters of Tiangang sect in order to be with the woman. If it wasn't for an extremely important matter, Di Beichen wouldn't have come back and have been accompanying the woman outside. Everyone who knew this also believed in Han Shilling's remarks. If the woman didn't use a shameful method to seduce Di Beichen, why would Di Beichen do this? These days, everyone learned that the selection competition was imminent. Di Beichen was likely to bring Bailey Hongzhuang back. This news undoubtedly caused an uproar in Tiangang sect. For a long time, Di Beichen had a great and tall image in everyone's mind. He never couldn't distinguish right from wrong. However, since the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang, everything about Di Beichen had become different from before. Now he actually intended to use his identity to let Bailey Hongzhuang stay in Tiangang sect. This was not in line with his previous style. When Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and appeared in front of everyone, the disciples of Tiangang sect were stunned for a moment. They didn't expect Di Beichen to really bring Bailey Hongzhuang back. However, the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang was somewhat different from what everyone had imagined previously. According to their thoughts, since Bailey Hongzhuang could make Di Beichen bewitched, her appearance wouldn't be bad. Therefore, everyone thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would grow up to be a seductive fox spirit. However, now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang was clearly not a fox spirit. That gorgeous face was enough to make any woman feel ashamed of her inferiority, and that cold and outstanding temperament revealed the demeanor of a great family. This kind of temperament couldn't be cultivated without a long time of nurturing. Moreover, the way she stood proudly beside Di Beichen didn't make people feel that they were unsuitable. On the contrary, the two of them seemed to be a match made in heaven. Even their temperament had merged into one. She allowed Di Beichen to hold her hand. Her beautiful and refined face was filled with calmness. Facing everyone's gaze, she was so calm and collected. Chapter 11:07. Feeling everyone's gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It seemed that Han Shilling really lived up to her expectations and created a lot of rumors for her in Tiangang sect. If Han Shilling hadn't interfered, she was afraid that these disciples wouldn't have revealed such an expression when they saw her. She didn't care about everyone's sizing her up. The more she evaded, the more it would make everyone feel that she was guilty. On the contrary, the calmer she appeared, it would make everyone doubt Han Shilling's words. This time coming to Tiangang sect was a game between her and Han Shilling. Even though this was a place that Han Shilling was familiar with, it was still unknown who would win and who would lose in the end. This is Bailey Hongzhuang? No wonder young sect master is so fond of her. Such a beauty, which man wouldn't be tempted? The male disciples of Tiangang sect sized up Bailey Hongzhuang with excitement in their eyes. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang didn't say anything, they felt that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't as bad as Han Shilling said. The male disciples were far less easily misled by Han Shilling's remarks than the female disciples. In their view, young sect master's vision naturally wouldn't be bad. No matter from which aspect, young sect master was an impeccable existence, so the person that he liked definitely wouldn't be too bad. Otherwise, young sect master's heart would have long been hooked by a woman. How could he be indifferent to Han Shieling for so many years? Compared to the excitement of the male disciples, the female disciples snorted disdainfully. You guys only know how to judge people by their appearance. I think Senior Han is better than Bailey Hongzhuang. At least Senior Han's strength is very powerful. This Bailey Hongzhuang has no other redeeming qualities other than her appearance. If she didn't hook up with young sect master, she would just be a person in a small dynasty. Senior Sister Han's words are completely correct. Young sect head actually brought Bailey Hongzhuang here. If I let Bailey Hongzhuang stay in Tiangang's sect like this, I can't accept it. The female disciples shook their heads one after another. They had all spent a lot of effort to become a disciple of Tiangang's sect. If Bailey Hongzhuang did nothing and directly entered, it would make people feel unbalanced. Although the voices of the surrounding cultivators were soft, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, as cultivators, could still hear them clearly. Di Beichen's eyebrows were tightly knitted. His handsome face was covered with a layer of displeasure, and his starry eyes were gloomy. Although he had already guessed that there would be many cultivators in the sect talking about Hongzhuang, he did not expect that Han Shieling would describe Hongzhuang in such a way. At this moment, Di Beichen truly understood that Han Shieling was not as simple as he had previously thought. He didn't know if it was because he had changed too much in the past few years, or because he had never paid attention to Han Shieling before. For him, he used to only cultivate and improve his cultivation at the request of his master. His biggest goal was to lead Tiangang's sect to become stronger for his master. In addition, he had never taken the relationship between men and women to heart. Even if everyone said that he and Han Shieling were extremely compatible, he had never taken it seriously until he met Bailey Hongzhuang. It turned out that many things in this world were destined by fate. Before meeting the right person, everything was nothingness, but once you met, it was a real life. Chapter 1108. Di Beichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand tightly and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang worriedly, only to see Bailey Hongzhuang smiling at him. She had already prepared for this kind of small trick when she came to Tiangang's sect, so she didn't care at all. Moreover, it was useless even if she cared about this kind of thing. As long as she showed her strength, all these rumors would be dispelled. Rumors were sometimes a terrifying force, but when you didn't care at all, there would come a day when you would use the truth to give the other party a tight slap. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head at Di Beichen, indicating that she was fine. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance without any hidden sadness or pain, Di Beichen's heart was finally at ease. He also knew that these rumors weren't formed in a day or two. Even if he explained it now, it would be useless. On the contrary, it might have the opposite effect. "Wife, let's go in first," Di Beichen said gently. "All right." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips bloomed into an elegant smile like a green lotus. She nodded her head and followed Di Beichen in. Han Shieling was overjoyed when she heard the news of Di Beichen's return. Di Beichen had left this time, so she hadn't seen Di Beichen for several months. "Miss, just as you guessed, young sect master came back with Bailey Hongzhuang. I heard that young sect master had been holding Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and hadn't let go. Obviously, he cares a lot about Bailey Hongzhuang," Tao Tsongrong said as she looked at Han Shieling's expression. Her face was filled with dissatisfaction and worry. Hearing this, Han Shieling's cold and arrogant face also curled into a sneer. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really brave. She actually dared to come to Tiangang's sect with Brother Di. Does she really think that she is the mistress of Tiangang's sect? Han Shieling narrowed her eyes, and a malicious and cold light flashed in her eyes. Last time, she lost face in front of Bailey Hongzhuang because of a moment of carelessness. This time, everyone in Tiangang's sect was on her side. She would let Bailey Hongzhuang know the gap between them. An existence like her could never be compared to a grassroots woman like Bailey Hongzhuang. D-Dage wasn't someone she, Bailey Hongzhuang, could reach. That Bailey Hongzhuang is naturally very shameless. She shamelessly followed us, but I believe that she will not appear in Tiangang's sect soon. Tao Tsongrong's face was full of smiles. She had never seen any woman who could fight against Mississippi. Bailey Hongzhuang was naturally no exception. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang was really asking for humiliation. Miss did not intend to let her go this time. Han Shilling smiled and nodded. She had already thought about everything, not to mention her status and reputation in Tiangang's sect. Just the opposition of the elders was enough to give Brother D a headache. She did not believe that Brother D could still be stubborn under everyone's opposition. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, in a large force like Tiangang's sect, it was impossible to have a foothold here without sufficient background and strength. She could only say that Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts were too naive. She only hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang could not collapse under such a blow. Chapter 1109. Hearing Tao Tsongrong's words, Han Shilling glanced coldly at Tao Tsongrong. Noticing Han Shilling's gaze, Tao Tsongrong immediately shut her mouth and did not dare to continue speaking. She almost forgot that the young mistress was most angry with the young sect master's attitude. She just wanted to stand up for the young mistress. Let's go out. Han Shilling's eyes were filled with coldness. She wanted to go out and welcome Di Beichen. At this time, she naturally had to appear. An excited smile appeared on Tao Tsongrong's face. She immediately followed behind Han Shilling and went out together. She also wanted to see what kind of sacred being Bailey Hongzhuang was to be able to charm such a person like the young sect master. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen went all the way forward. The Tiangang sect's area was also very large. Along the way, there were many Tiangang sect disciples. At this time, it was the time for the disciples to cultivate. With the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, all the disciples paid attention to the two of them and constantly greeted Di Beichen. Behind them, there were also many disciples who walked all the way here just to watch the show. After all, Han Shilling liked Di Beichen. Now that Di Beichen had returned with Bailey Hongzhuang, Han Shilling would definitely not miss it. Once Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang met face to face, it would be a very lively event. Usually, most of the Tiangang sect disciples were cultivating and there were not many lively events. Now that there was such a rare scene, everyone naturally did not want to miss it. Brother D, just as the two of them were walking, suddenly, a cold and pleasant female voice came from not far ahead. Hearing this voice, Bailey Hongzhuang knew that there was no one else other than Han Shilling. Soon, a green figure gradually appeared in their line of sight. Han Shilling's outfit was the same as before. The light green dress set off her proud and cold temperament. Her beautiful face was filled with a faint smile. After seeing Di Beichen, the smile deepened. The disciples present could not help but sigh when they saw Han Shilling appear. Han Shilling had always been the goddess in their hearts. Han Shilling is here. It will be lively in a while. Han Shilling's temperament is really amazing. A nice beauty, but Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament does not lose to Han Shilling. Everyone looked at each other. Before she arrived at the Tiangang sect, everyone thought that Han Shilling's temperament and appearance would definitely crush Bailey Hongzhuang. It was because of this that everyone felt that Di Beichen did not have a good eye. However, now that the two women were standing close to each other, the crowd realized that the situation was not what they had imagined. Han Shilling's appearance was not the most outstanding. However, because of her cold and arrogant temperament, everyone felt that she was unattainable. On the contrary, it added a trace of indescribable charm. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance and temperament had reached the pinnacle. Her perfect face could be said to be the dream lover in every man's heart. In terms of temperament, Han Shilling's temperament was simple. Bailey Hongzhuang's temperament, on the other hand, was ever-changing. When facing the crowd, she was cold and aloof. However, when facing Di Beichen, she was charming and fragrant. Just based on this point, Bailey Hongzhuang had already won. Her appearance had already fulfilled every man's dream. Chapter 1110. Tao Tsongrong had intended to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a good lesson. How dare such an unpresentable woman shout at their young miss? She was simply courting death. However, When Tao Songrong saw Bailey Hongzhuang, she was at a loss for words. This Bailey Hongzhuang did not seem to match the young miss description. Her temperament was on par with the young miss. The so-called country bumpkin had nothing to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. Big Brother D, you're back. Han Shiling's beautiful face was filled with a joyful smile. She walked directly to Di Beichen's side and acted intimately, as if she had just seen her sweetheart return. She acted as if she did not notice Bailey Hongzhuang beside Di Beichen. She had completely ignored Bailey Hongzhuang. However, no one noticed the cold light that flashed in Han Shiling's eyes when she saw Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang holding hands. At this moment, she naturally did not want to lose to Bailey Hongzhuang. She immediately held Di Beichen's arm with one hand. Seeing Han Shiling's actions after she had appeared, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It was as if everything that Han Shiling had done had nothing to do with her. Han Shiling's actions were undoubtedly trying to make her unhappy by ignoring or even forcibly occupying her. Then, she would do something that would damage her image. If it was a 16-year-old girl, it was very likely that she would do such a trick. However, she would not. Noticing Han Shiling's actions, Di Beichen could not help but frown. When Han Shiling held his arm, he had already quietly pulled his hand away. Han Shiling's face instantly turned ugly. Di Beichen's attitude undoubtedly made her lose face in front of everyone. This scene naturally did not escape everyone's eyes. At this moment, everyone understood that all of this was true. Di Beichen did not like Han Shiling. He liked Bailey Hongzhuang. Big Brother D. Han Shiling looked at Di Beichen with some disappointment. She had never let go of her pride like this. However, Di Beichen actually treated her like this. It was really sad. Di Beichen understood the sadness in Han Shiling's heart. However, if he was indecisive, he would be in trouble. From a moment he pursued Bailey Hongzhuang, he had already decided to take responsibility for Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not want Han Shiling to continue to persist. Also, Shiling, this is your sister-in-law, Di Beichen introduced. As soon as these words came out, Han Shiling's face stiffened. The last time they met, Di Beichen was at least not so direct. However, this time, Di Beichen actually said such words in front of so many disciples of Tiangang sect. This completely destroyed her hope. Han Shiling's gaze could not help but fall on Bailey Hongzhuang. However, when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent expression and looked at her with a faint smile, her face turned even uglier. Big Brother D, feeling everyone's gaze, Han Shiling really did not know what to say. She did not expect Di Beichen to be so decisive when they just met. This was completely different from the situation she imagined. When Tao Songrong saw the situation, she hurriedly spoke out. Young sect master, you obviously know how young miss feels towards you. How can you be so heartless and say such things? Chapter 1111. Following Tao Songrong's words, there was a moment of silence in the surroundings. Although everyone understood Han Shiling's feelings for Di Beichen, Han Shiling had never publicly admitted it. Now that Tao Songrong directly exposed all of this, there was no doubt that the matter had become clearer. Everyone's gaze fell on Di Beichen, but they didn't know how Di Beichen would answer. Bailey Hongzhuang was also somewhat helpless. This Han Shiling walking out now was undoubtedly asking for humiliation. She thought that Han Shiling would be smarter and use some tricks behind their backs. She didn't expect that when they just arrived at Tiangang sect, Han Shiling would make a big move in front of them. It was really unexpected. Songrong. Han Shiling frowned and glared at Tao Songrong. She, Han Shiling, had always been a high and mighty princess. How could she show such a humble, begging appearance in front of everyone? Tao Songrong was startled and then closed her mouth. Did she say something wrong again? Han Shiling's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang, and he immediately smiled and said, Miss Bailey, you're here too. Seeing that Han Shiling directly skipped Di Beichen's words, the cultivators present all looked at each other. Just from his attitude, they already understood. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, and her gorgeous face was filled with an indifferent and polite smile. We meet again, Miss Han. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's dignified and elegant appearance, Han Shiling's eyes revealed a trace of anger. He didn't expect this Bailey Hongzhuang to be so good at pretending. She was obviously just an unfavored young lady from a small dynasty's general's residence, but she had to pretend to be a lady from a noble family. It was really disgusting. Although Han Shilling did not like Bailey Hongzhuang very much, the cultivators present did not feel that Bailey Hongzhuang was really a big shot. As soon as Han Shilling appeared, his attacks were clearly displayed. However, Bailey Hongzhuang remained calm and collected from start to finish. Comparing the two of them, it was clear who was the victor. If not for the fact that everyone was very clear about this, they would have thought that the identities of Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang had been swapped. After Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang greeted each other, the atmosphere suddenly stiffened. Although Han Shilling and Bailey Hongzhuang were smiling on the surface, everyone knew that the two women had already ignited the flames of war. It was just that they didn't erupt in front of everyone. Di Beichun frowned slightly. Just as he was about to break the deadlock, a deep and weathered voice sounded. "Young Sectmaster, you're back." As this familiar and majestic voice sounded, everyone looked in the direction of the source of the voice. An old man in a white robe slowly appeared in front of everyone. The old man was 60 or 70 years old. Although his figure was stooped, his eyes were unusually bright, giving people a sense of majesty and experience. Seeing the person, Di Beichun also said, "Great Elder." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately understood that this person was Han Shiling's grandfather, Tiangang Sect's Great Elder, Han Hongyi. "Greetings to Great Elder." Bailey Hongzhuang bowed. Since she had already come to Tiangang Sect, she would do the necessary etiquette. "Greetings to Great Elder." All the disciples present bowed. Han Hongyi's position in Tiangang Sect was extremely high. When a young sect master was not in Tiangang Sect, many things were decided by Han Hongyi. Chapter 11-12. "Grandpa," Han Shilling called out softly. Her beautiful face showed a bit of grievance. Di Beichun's actions today really made her feel very wronged. Now she only hoped that Han Hongyi could uphold justice for her. Han Hongyi glanced at Han Shilling, and his expression was somewhat helpless. He knew his granddaughter's temperament very well. Her heart was usually higher than the sky. Liking Di Beichun was not a matter of 1 or 2 days. He always felt that Han Shilling and Di Beichun were very compatible. Almost everyone thought that Han Shilling and Di Beichun would definitely be a couple in the future. He did not expect it to become like this now. However, since it was the person his granddaughter liked, he would try his best to fulfill his granddaughter's wish. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichun were not compatible at all. Before, they did not say much because Di Beichun had suffered for 3 years in Feng Bo country. Now Di Beichun was obviously serious about Bailey Hongzhuang. They could not let Di Beichun continue to be like this. Han Hongyi's gaze fell on Di Beichun's body and said, "Now go to the meeting hall. Everyone is waiting for you alone." Han Hongyi then looked at Han Shilling. "Shilling, you take Miss Bailey to her residence first." From beginning to end, Han Hongyi did not look at Bailey Hongzhuang. With Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, she was just a passerby of Tiangang Sect. After this time, Bailey Hongzhuang would not set foot here again. He did not need to care. Noticing Han Hongyi's attitude, Di Beichun frowned. Just from the attitude of the Great Elder, he already knew that the situation was very complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Di Beichun and said, "Go quickly." Di Beichun left Tiangang Sect for several months, and what happened during this period of time, he just listened to the news from outside. Now that he had returned, he was afraid that the elders would not be in a good mood. He indeed needed to explain himself. As for Han Hongyi's attitude, she didn't care either. Han Shilling was Han Hongyi's granddaughter. Naturally, Han Hongyi would side with Han Shilling. Thinking about it, it was probably her appearance that ruined their wishful thinking, so it was normal that Han Hongyi didn't like her. In the entire Tiangang Sect, the only thing she cared about was the attitude of Master Di Beichun. Other than that, no one else meant anything to her. Di Beichun nodded slightly, and then he said to Han Shilling, "Shilling, you take Hongzhuang to my house first." Listening to Di Beichen's words, Han Shiling's face turned ugly. Di Beichen actually took Bailey Hongzhuang to his residence. Di Beichen had always disliked others going to his residence. Even she had no chance to enter his house on weekdays. However, now he directly asked Bailey Hongzhuang to go to his place. Just this point, the difference had already been obvious. Di Beichen gave Bailey Hongzhuang a "don't worry" look before leaving with Han Hongyi. After Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang left, Han Shiling looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although she tried to maintain the arrogance on her face, Bailey Hongzhuang had already seen her anger. Han Shiling wanted to flare up, but she saw that many cultivators around were looking at them curiously. She could only say, "Follow me." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly, and then followed Han Shiling to Di Beichen's residence. Chapter 11-13. Following the departure of Bailey Hongzhuang and Han Shiling, the crowd began to talk. Although the confrontation had only lasted for a short moment, everyone had already understood many things. At the very least, Bailey Hongzhuang had won the confrontation just now. Bailey Hongzhuang did not say anything, but Di Beichen had already expressed his attitude. Based on this point alone, Bailey Hongzhuang had already won. Looking at the situation, this seems to be senior sister Han's wishful thinking. Although this is the first time I've seen Bailey Hongzhuang, I feel that this Bailey Hongzhuang is not as bad as the rumors say. On the contrary, I feel that she's very noble and elegant. You can't believe all the rumors, but the elders might object. Let's see what their attitude is after this meeting. Everyone's eyes sparkled with excitement and curiosity. All along, Di Beichen and Han Shiling had been the center of everyone's conversation. Even if they had been living peacefully in the past, they could not help but talk about it. What more now that such a huge incident had happened? No matter what, I support the young sect leader. That's right, the person that the young sect leader likes is the young sect leader's wife. Many cultivators present supported Di Beichen. As the young sect leader of Tiangang's sect, Di Beichen's reputation was naturally not low. When Di Beichen was forced to leave Tiangang's sect due to pressure, most of the disciples in the sect were extremely dissatisfied. However, their demands could not be resisted by the four palace masters. In the end, Di Beichen still left. However, even if Di Beichen left, the other powerful successors were still unable to be compared to Di Beichen in their hearts. The young sect leader was the young sect leader, and no one could replace him. Now that they saw Di Beichen return, they were extremely excited. As for who Di Beichen liked, there was nothing wrong with that. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang was nothing like the vixen that Tao Tsongrong described. Linking the two together, many people felt that Han Shiling was deliberately smearing Bailey Hongzhuang's reputation. His underhanded methods were already very obvious. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know what everyone was thinking. To her, their thoughts were not important. However, she was a little worried about Di Beichen. After all, there were still many people in Tiangang's sect who coveted Di Beichen's position as the young lord. If those people had not joined forces to force Di Beichen to leave, Di Beichen would not have been forced to go to Fengbo country. Now that Di Beichen had returned, it was obvious that many people's dreams had been shattered. Naturally, they wanted to use this opportunity to deal with Di Beichen. Her appearance undoubtedly gave everyone a chance to attack. However, she believed in Di Beichen's strength. Those people who coveted things that did not belong to them would one day completely disappear from Tiangang's sect. Master, this Han Shiling is coming aggressively. Xiao Hei's eyes darted around. Just from the way Han Shiling walked in front of her, she could see the anger in Han Shiling's heart. If it were not for the occasional appearance of cultivators along the way, Han Shiling would have exploded long ago. What's the use of her coming aggressively? Didn't she just embarrass herself in front of everyone? The real sect leader's wife is here. It's useless no matter how much trouble she makes. Xiao Bai appeared to be very calm. As long as Di Beichen's heart was with Bailey Hongzhuang, then everything was already set. Chapter 11-14. The area of Tiangang's sect was extremely large. Therefore, Bailey Hongzhuang had to walk for a long time before she arrived at Di Beichen's residence. As the young lord of Tiangang's sect, Di Beichen lived in a large palace. In the entire Tiangang sect, other than the lord, his residence was the most spacious. Bailey Hongzhuang followed Han Xiling into Di Beichen's residence. Just as she had imagined, a bamboo forest was located in the corner of the palace. The autumn wind rustled, and the bamboo leaves danced. As the young lord of Tiangang's sect, Di Beichen's residence was not luxurious. However, it was elegant and peaceful. I've arrived. Thank you for leading the way, Miss Han. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke slowly with a faint smile on her lips. It was as if she was sending off a guest. When Han Xiling saw Bailey Hongzhuang acting like a hostess, her face instantly turned ugly. She could no longer maintain the elegant and noble facade on her face. Han Xiling gave Tao Songrong a look. Tao Songrong immediately understood and retreated to a spot not far away to help Han Xiling keep watch. Although there were usually no cultivators near the young lord's palace, based on everyone's curious attitude towards this matter, she could not guarantee anything. Moreover, if the young lord suddenly returned, she had to take precautions in advance. Seeing Han Xiling's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression remained the same. She looked at Han Xiling with a faint smile, waiting for Han Xiling to make his move. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent look, Han Xiling felt even angrier. She had always been the one who was calm and collected. No matter how the other girls fought, she was always the one who had an elegant attitude and watched the joke. However, when facing Bailey Hongzhuang became that person, which made her very depressed. She did not understand. Whether it was identity, status, or strength, Bailey Hongzhuang could not be compared to her at all. Why could Bailey Hongzhuang still act so confident now? She hated Bailey Hongzhuang's cloud-like face the most. Logically speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang should be ashamed of her inferiority when she saw her. After knowing the gap between them, she did not even have the courage to compete. However, this woman did not have the slightest ability. Instead, she looked as if it was natural. This made Han Xiling extremely dissatisfied and even jealous. Bailey Hongzhuang had nothing, but Di Dage treated her like this. Just this point alone proved a lot of things. Do you think that you can become the mistress of Tiangang's sect just because Big Brother likes you now? Han Xiling said coldly. When there were only the two of them around, she did not need to pretend at all. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Han Xiling indifferently. The corners of her lips curled slightly, and she smiled sweetly. Why not? Hearing this, Han Xiling was stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang's matter-of-fact attitude every time made her feel as if she did not know how to answer. Everything is far from as simple as you think. With your status, no one will agree. A sparrow turning into a phoenix is nothing but your fantasy. Reality will never be that simple. Han Xiling also revealed proudly. Her clear eyes were full of disdain. Clearly, she was the real phoenix. As for Bailey Hongzhuang, she was born a sparrow who could not turn over. I didn't expect Miss Han to be so concerned about me. However, you don't need to worry about my matters. Chapter 11:15. She had seen many women like Han Xiling, who thought that they were great just because they had strength and beauty. If it were other women, they might not be Han Xiling's opponent, but this kind of drama was useless to her. Han Xiling thought that she was great, but it was nothing. In terms of status, she was just the granddaughter of an elder. She did not have enough background, nor was she the granddaughter of a sect master or the descendant of an aristocratic family. In terms of status, aside from Han Hongyi, Han Xiling was just a disciple of the Tiangang sect. In terms of strength, Han Xiling might not be much stronger than her. Do you think a guy like you is worthy of my concern? Han Xiling looked coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Since Bailey Hongzhuang could not understand her words, she could only say it so that Bailey Hongzhuang could understand. Some people had to be slapped in the face. I also think that Miss Han is very annoying. Since we want to see each other hate each other, why don't we part here and feel a little better? Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about Han Xiling, turned around, and walked directly to Di Beichen's house. She had not been involved in Di Beichen's previous life, so she wanted to take this opportunity to understand Di Beichen's previous life. As for Han Xiling, she was too lazy to argue with her. It did not make any sense at all. When she and Di Beichen completely ignored Han Xiling could not make any waves. After all, this was the Tiangang sect, and she did not want to cause any trouble. If Han Xiling dared to do anything to her here, she did not mind letting Han Xiling know how to write the word regret. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang was not moved by force or persuasion, Han Xiling was furious. She had never seen a woman like Bailey Hongzhuang, who made her feel like she was punching cotton. Creak. Bailey Hongzhuang opened the door of Di Beichen's room. Leaving aside Han Xiling, she came to the Tiangang zone, where Di Beichen had lived since he was a child. She was in a very good mood. How could Han Xiling let Bailey Hongzhuang off so easily? The moment she saw Bailey Hongzhuang enter the room, her eyes flashed with anger, and she immediately followed her in. All this while, even she had never had the chance to enter Big Brother D's house. How could she just watch as Bailey Hongzhuang openly entered? Bailey Hongzhuang, this Tiangang sect doesn't welcome you at all. If you know your place, you'd better leave immediately. Otherwise, once you're blasted out, it won't be an ordinary humiliation. Han Xiling's voice deepened. I know you want Brother D to clear your name. To tell you the truth, everyone in the meeting hall is against your engagement with Brother D. No matter how proud you are now, you're nothing but a joke in the end. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, and her deep phoenix eyes bloomed with a dazzling brilliance. Han Xiling, what's the point of these underhanded methods of yours? Even if the entire Tiangang sect is against me being with Di Beichen, so what? He only has me in his heart, and you'll never be qualified. If you're flaunting your status in front of me, then let me tell you, I don't care about these things at all. If these things were really that important, you wouldn't have been unable to enter Di Beichen's heart after more than 10 years of hard work. Chapter 11:16. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were like a sharp knife stabbing fiercely into Han Xiling's heart. Faced with Bailey Hongzhuang's calm and confident demeanor, she only felt that she could not utter the arrogant words that filled her stomach. Indeed, if all of this was so important, Big Brother D would not have fallen for Bailey Hongzhuang at all. But it was precisely because of this that she could not accept it. Why was it that she was better than Bailey Hongzhuang in every way, yet Big Brother D only had eyes for Bailey Hongzhuang? Seeing that Han Xiling was standing in a daze on the spot, as if she had been provoked by her words, Bailey Hongzhuang began to size up Di Beichen's room. Han Xiling was not a skilled competitor. On the contrary, under the circumstances where she and Di Beichen were of the same mind, Han Xiling was nothing more than an annoying fellow to them, no matter what she did. Di Beichen's bedroom was also simple, but not monotonous. At first glance, it gave off a comfortable feeling, just like Di Beichen himself. Bailey Hongzhuang took a simple glance and understood the furnishings at a glance. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked to the study table. She saw that there seemed to be a painting on the table and could not help but feel curious, wondering which master's masterpiece it was. However, when Bailey Hongzhuang pulled out the painting and looked at it, she realized that the person in the painting was very familiar. The person in the painting was none other than herself. His phoenix eyes that were pitch black like ink were suffused with a wisp of surprise. This portrait was actually lifelike, and its charm was extremely vivid, causing one's eyes to light up. Master, this painting is really good. It must have been drawn by Di Beichen, right? Xiaohei's eyes sparkled with surprise. This painting was just too lifelike. If the artist was not extremely familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang, he would not have been able to draw such a painting. Come to think of it, there should not be a second person other than Di Beichen. Bailey Hongzhuang did not reply, but a faint smile appeared in her eyes. She also understood that only Di Beichen could draw such a painting. Han Xiling also saw this painting. Her cold and moving face instantly froze, and her expression became abnormally ugly. She never knew that Big Brother D could draw, nor did she know that Big Brother D could draw people so vividly. In her impression, Big Brother D had always disdained to do such things. To Big Brother D, nothing was more important than cultivation. He would cultivate as long as he had the time. But now, he had drawn a portrait for Bailey Hongzhuang. Almost instantly, Han Shilling understood that this painting must have been drawn by Di Beichun when he returned to Tiangang's sect. Could it be that Di Beichun had missed Bailey Hongzhuang so much just because he had been separated from her for a short period of time? Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's smile, Han Shilling only felt that it was extremely ironic. In the next moment, Han Shilling suddenly reached out and directly reached for the painting. She wanted to destroy this thing. Seeing Han Shilling's actions, Bailey Hongzhuang was extremely quick. She immediately took the painting back and stopped Han Shilling from destroying it. However, Han Shilling did not give up. She wanted to completely destroy this thing. Han Shilling, don't go overboard. Bailey Hongzhuang's pitch-black eyes were cold and emotionless. Her low and cold voice was filled with warning. Chapter 11:17. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had reacted so quickly, Han Shilling was a little surprised. Logically speaking, with Bailey Hongzhuang's abilities, she shouldn't have been able to react so quickly. However, Han Shilling didn't think too much about it. Bailey Hongzhuang's actions had made her extremely unhappy. She definitely couldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang continue to be so complacent. Even if she couldn't have Di Beichun, she definitely wouldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang have it. Then, Han Shilling threw a punch at Bailey Hongzhuang. Since Bailey Hongzhuang didn't know what was good for her, she would use her abilities to show Bailey Hongzhuang just how big the gap between them was. When Bailey Hongzhuang decided to make her an enemy, she was already digging her own grave. Seeing that Han Shilling had shed all pretense of cordiality and attacked her directly, Bailey Hongzhuang's deep almond-shaped eyes were filled with a fierce light. In the next moment, the primary energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's body began to surge. When facing an enemy, she would never be afraid. Bang! Both of their fists collided fiercely. The energy ripples instantly spread out in waves. Feeling the immense power in her fist, Han Shilling's eyes flashed with astonishment and shock. Her heart was in a perilous situation. Orange level 1? Han Shilling exclaimed in shock. Her pretty face was filled with disbelief. When she first met Bailey Hongzhuang at the Luo Yun Mountains, there was still a huge gap between her and Bailey Hongzhuang's abilities. In her opinion, it was a gap that couldn't be crossed. However, only half a year had passed, and Bailey Hongzhuang's abilities had increased by so much. This was impossible. Han Shilling's first reaction was to think that this was not real. However, the power that Bailey Hongzhuang displayed could not be faked. While Han Shilling understood Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, Bailey Hongzhuang also had a better understanding of Han Shilling's strength. Orange rank 5. With Han Shilling's age, this level of cultivation was indeed very outstanding. However, Han Shilling grew up in the Tiangang sect and had an abundance of cultivation resources. In comparison, he didn't seem that powerful. Bailey Hongzhuang believed that as long as she was given more time, she would definitely surpass Han Shilling. How did your strength suddenly increase so much? Han Shilling couldn't help but ask. The difference in strength between her and Bailey Hongzhuang was huge. How did it shrink so much in such a short time? This made her, who was originally full of confidence, suffer another blow. You must know that Bailey Hongzhuang was younger than her. Why should I tell you? Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a cold smile. However, her heart was filled with dissatisfaction. She had tried her best to increase her cultivation, but there was still a gap of 4 levels between her and Han Shilling. This made her very unhappy. After Xiao He and Xiao Bai found out about Bailey Hongzhuang's thoughts, they felt helpless. Master, the speed of your breakthrough is already heaven-defying. After all, you've only been cultivating for less than 2 years. Han Shilling has been cultivating for so many years. If you can catch up to Han Shilling in 2 years, then Han Shilling can really go and die. No matter where, as long as Bailey Hongzhuang's improvement was revealed, everyone would be shocked. Chapter 11:18. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that her progress during this period of time was already pretty good. She could only blame herself for cultivating for such a short period of time. What method did Big Brother D use to increase your cultivation? Han Shilling frowned. There were indeed some methods to increase one's cultivation in this world. However, these methods would cause harm to the cultivator's foundation. Although one's cultivation could not be increased by much in a short period of time, once it has been increased, one's future potential would be limited. Logically speaking, based on Big Brother D's feelings for Bailey Hongzhuang, he should not have allowed Bailey Hongzhuang to use such a method. However, if one were to say that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation had been increased by her own cultivation, she simply could not believe it. After all, her rate of improvement was already very outstanding in the Tiangang sect. Grandfather had even told her that as long as she maintained this rate of improvement, she would definitely become a famous cultivator in the Shengxian continent in the future. However, if Bailey Hongzhuang's rate of improvement was faster than hers, wouldn't that mean that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was superior? Naturally, Han Shilling could not believe this. After much thought, Han Shilling could only think of one possibility. Bailey Hongzhuang had secretly used some method to forcefully increase her cultivation. In this way, everything could be figured out. In order to be worthy of Big Brother D, Bailey Hongzhuang had not hesitated to sacrifice her own potential to increase her own cultivation. At the thought of this, Han Shilling's sneer could not help but widen. Bailey Hongzhuang, based on your cultivation talent, you are not worthy of Big Brother D. Even if you had used some method of sacrificing your potential to forcefully increase your cultivation, you would only be able to shorten the distance between you and him in a short period of time. However, without your potential, you will only need a few years before the gap between the two of you will be completely revealed. When that time comes, Big Brother D will hate you. Han Shilling smiled complacently. She never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so stupid as to use such a method. It seemed that she had overestimated Bailey Hongzhuang's ability. Hearing Han Shilling's words, Bailey Hongzhuang was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect Han Shilling to come up with such a conclusion. You're thinking too much, Bailey Hongzhuang said lightly. There were indeed many cultivators on the Shengxian continent who would use this method, but she was definitely not one of them. She clearly knew how important potential was. It was never her principle to only focus on immediate benefits and ignore long-term benefits. However, Han Shilling did not believe what Bailey Hongzhuang said. You don't have to hide it. I already know what kind of person you are. Han Shilling crossed his arms in front of his chest. The hatred that had originally seeped deep into his bones had quietly dissipated a little, and he appeared to be very relaxed. As long as I tell everyone about this, your value will not be much higher than that trash from before. Seeing how confident Han Shilling was, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a little helpless. People like Han Shilling who thought of themselves as high and mighty always believed that their judgment was correct. Han Shilling, who had originally been prepared to attack, gave up at this moment because Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer her opponent. Has anyone ever told you that you are very stupid? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Han Shilling helplessly and mockingly. With Han Shilling's intelligence, it would be strange if he could catch up to Bewitching. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.